Welcome to another episode of Boom and Bust. I'm your host Terry, and today doing a top NFL running backs list going into 2019. So a couple things. Number one, we're talking about veteran running backs, so no rookies. We're talking about based off what they did last year, but also more so just kind of the skill set. And so this comes from looking at film, my personal opinion, all those different things. There's a couple categories that I rated them in, and then the stats was kind of more of a tiebreaker, the production. So we're looking at the ability in the box. So we're talking about at the line of scrimmage to the second level. That goes from everything from being elusive against tacklers, that goes from having power against tacklers. That goes to having vision to hit the right hole. That goes with speed and acceleration to hit the hole. All types of stuff. Balance, you name it. And so then there's the ability in the open field. So that's the ability to make the third level or, big runs. And so one of the stats I did look at was 20-plus yard runs, which are explosive plays, and then 40-plus yard runs as well. And so those kind of stand out. Great in the ability in the field. Again, power to make somebody, miss a tackle, elusiveness, speed to outrun people, all those different things. Then we looked at receiving ability. That's, of course, kind of self-explanatory. And then miscellaneous is kind of, again, ball security with fumbles versus touchdowns and all that. Availability, healthy-wise, leadership-wise, off-the-field issues, just kind of all those intangible things that kind of go into being just a significant player on a team. So out of those categories, I rated them out of 10. And I did my top 10 running backs. So I'll start off with number one. Number one was really tough. The honorable mention was James Conner from the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was very tooth and nail to get to the number 10 running back, but it was David Johnson out of Arizona Cardinals. Starting off with his in-the-box ability, I gave him an 8 out of 10. I think he definitely has good size, of course, good acceleration and speed, but also really good vision. I think he hits the hole well. He understands where he needs to go. He doesn't just kind of run into the line and then bounce around. So I definitely think he has good ability in the box. Ability in the field, I think he has good speed, but I don't think he has like game breaker speed. And so, like, if you get him in space on a route, that's different. But if you're talking about him running the ball, he can definitely make some people miss. I don't think he's going to outrun to the corner against, top athletic defenders or anything like that. But I think he has a good mix. So I gave him a 7 out of 10 in the field. And then as a receiver, 10 out of 10. There's a lot of running backs that can be outlets. There's a lot of running backs that can run running back routes. Not every running back can line up at receiver consistently and make big plays, show ability down the field. And he's one of those guys. That's what kind of made him popular. So 10 out of 10 for receiving, and then 9 out of 10 for miscellaneous. I mean, not a big fumbler this year. Definitely a good teammate, available this whole year, coming off an injury, all that good stuff. I think he would be higher if he wasn't, just getting back into form, but that's kind of the case. He's kind of getting back into his form, his peak form. And so that's might be why he's at 10. But I think, any other time, especially if he's able to go full tilt this year, he might be higher, and I expect more from him with Kyler Murray in this offense. So number 9, Christian McCaffrey out of the Carolina Panthers, and so for the box, gave him a 6 out of 10. I think he has everything but power. I mean, I would say decent balance, but power is the real thing where, he's slider. He's a slider running back. We know that. When you hit him, he will go down. And so I definitely think as far as speed to the edge, as far as vision, as far as elusiveness, he got all that. He just doesn't have the power and balance, I think, of some of these other guys. Open field, I gave him a 7. Again, I think he has everything except the power, and he has really great speed, but I don't know if he has elite speed. And most running backs don't, but that's kind of the scale I grade him on. And so receiving, I gave him a 10, much like David Johnson. Consistently can be a receiver. His receiving numbers are off the charts, almost as high as his rushing numbers. He can do it in a number of ways. Miscellaneous, I gave him a 5. He did have a number of fumbles this year, kind of higher on this list. But also he doesn't add much in the blocking game. Again, that lack of power kind of hurts him there. And they use him a lot in the receiving, obviously, but I don't think he adds much to the blocking game. And maybe maybe he could have got a 6, but I gave him a 5. So that's number 9, Christian McCaffrey. And then number 8 is Todd Gurley from the LA Rams. And again, this is kind of with the recent news of his injury or, his arthritic knee, whatever it is going to be. That's going to factor into what he does, in the future. But kind of looking at what he gave us prior to, in the box, I gave him a 10. I did my All-Pro series. You talk about mix of speed and power. One of the best. You talk about in the open field. Definitely gave him an 8. I think more power than speed in the open field, but still a good mix of both. I don't know if he beats, again, those top guys to the edge, but it's still a really good mix of both. And so I gave him an 8 there. Receiving, I gave him a 7. And again, I think he's definitely one of those guys they scheme to get open or is an outlet guy. His ability after the catch obviously is great. So really with these running backs, if you're not asked to do a lot route wise, then it comes down to how well do you catch, how well do you run after the catch. And I think he catches really naturally. I don't think he has like crazy hands, but catches really naturally. Obviously a great runner after the catch. It's just the route running and, they didn't ask him to do a whole bunch with that. So I gave him a 7. Miscellaneous, I gave him a 9. Good character, good teammate. I think he definitely helps out in blocking. I think he is available, to the point that he can be. And so overall, again, if Todd Gurley didn't have this thing lingering over him, he would be in the upper echelon. Number 7, kind of the same deal. We got Le'Veon Bell from the New York Jets. And so in the box, I gave him a 9. And this was tough because when you saw him last, especially against, I believe it was the Chiefs in the playoffs, where he does the whole delayed run thing with the patience, as they say. And I think his patience and vision is a plus, but it does lead to some big losses. And on paper, you could, or on just, surface, you could look and say, wow, he doesn't have a lot of power through the hole, but he does have power when he's accelerating and running. It's just that sometimes when he's doing this whole wait and see thing, it is hard for him to gain momentum and easy for him to go down if he gets caught. But I still gave him a 9 in the box. I think when he wants to hit the hole, he hits it well. Most people forget he was a big power back in Michigan State, lost some weight, added some explosiveness. I like all that. In the open field, he's explosive. Definitely has power. All those things that I said before. Great vision. The speed. He's not burner by any means. Definitely faster than what he's been, but not beating anybody to the edge. So I gave him a 7 out of 10. In the receiving category, I gave him an 8 out of 10. One of the better, more prolific receivers. But still kind of the rack ability, which is good, but he's not going to be the corner or anything. So I'm not going to put him on the upper echelon of, receivers, but still pretty solid. And again, coming off a year where he didn't play, there's a lot of question marks. Otherwise, with these numbers, he would probably be higher, but we'll kind of see what he's able to give us going into next year. All right, so next, number 6 is Alvin Kamara out of New Orleans Saints. In the box, I gave him a 7, much like McCaffrey, the power. I mean, but he has a lot more balance. I think he fights to stay up, and so I gave him a 7 out of 10, if I can say that. But I really like him, but again, he doesn't have as much power as these other guys. And then in the open field, I gave him a 7, kind of the power as well. And I know the whole Madden thing and everybody's talking about, man, it's just a juke stick in the open field. Watch the film. I mean, he gets taken down by a lot of people. So I'm not going to go overly crazy. He's explosive, of course. He's fast to the edge. All those things. Lacks a little bit of power. Isn't like super elusive like elite level where he's just breaking 5 people ankles back to back. But I think he's definitely solid. And so 7 out of 10 in the field. Receiving, I give him a 9 out of 10. He doesn't, and you know what? Another thing I'll say with the field is, as well as the receiving, this is where the stats kind of help out. So if you're talking about the explosive plays and you're talking about which running backs had the 20 plus or the 40 plus and all that, he had 1 yard or 1 run of 20 plus more and 1 run of 40 plus more. Now, there's some people on this list that don't have any 40 plus more, but a good amount have it. But there's way more people with 20 plus yard runs. And so I think if you talk about him splitting carries with Mark Ingram, that's a factor that goes into his ranking. But we'll kind of see what he does as a solo back or at least the feature back next year. But then you talk about explosive plays. I know a lot of people will be like, in the open field, he's absolutely unstoppable. Well, you look at the film and you look at the numbers, not exactly. So that's kind of where that ranking came from. Again, I gave him a 9 in receiving. I think he's close to that top echelon. And I think they could even use him in more ways. And then miscellaneous, again, not much in the blocking game. That's why he got an 8 out of 10. So not much in the blocking game. That's the only reason he was there. All right. So moving on to number 5, we got Joe Mixon out of the Cincinnati Bengals, a guy that I thought was ultra special. Coming out, we know he had the controversy, so he went later in the rounds for the draft. But in the box, I give him a 9. He reminds me a little bit of Le'Veon Bell, but just more suddenness. I mean, like when he plants his foot and goes, he goes, and he's a longer back, and so he's tough to take down. He's very tough to take down. In the open field, I gave him a 7. Good stats on the explosive run, but when you watch the film, he goes down pretty easy. I mean, in the open field, it's actually kind of shocking how easy he goes down. So I gave him a 7 out of 10 on that, but very explosive, good mix of speed and power and all that. It's just you've seen guys take him down. Receiving, I give him an 8. I think he has excellent ball skills, natural ability to adjust to the ball, natural hands and all that. They asked him to do a little bit of lining out wide and stuff, but he hasn't been asked to do that upper echelon work. But as far as his intangibles, I think he's definitely at an 8 out of 10. Miscellaneous, 8 out of 10. He didn't play a full season, but I think going forward, he's going to be the guy. And of course, you had the whole issue, but he's been a good teammate since he got drafted. So I think he'll be perfectly fine. A little bit of fumble issues, but I think, actually, let me see. No, take it back. He didn't have any fumbles this year. So we'll see. And I think he can block. I think he's able to block. They probably just don't ask him to do a lot. But going forward, I think his miscellaneous will go up anyway. All right. So number 4 on our list. is Kareem Hunt from the Cleveland Browns now. And this is when you get into a few guys. So Kareem Hunt, of course, got into some issues with the NFL, but his numbers were absolutely crazy. I believe he played 12 games, something like that. So like the numbers he put up was crazy because he put up 1,200 overall, which is pretty, it's above a lot of running backs. But, he had almost 400 receiving yards. And again, that's only in 12 games. And he was 200 some yards, less than 200 off 1,000 yards rushing and had 14 touchdowns. So he was on pace to be in the top echelon of the receivers. Of course, you had Mahomes in that offense humming. And so, looking at his ability, though, in the box, I gave him a 9. I mean, you got a guy that's short, good leverage, good power, really good acceleration, great vision. And since college, I think he's gotten faster and everything, a little leaner. And so I love his ability in the box. Great balance. He's not going to beat you to the edge, though. That's the only thing he won't do. As far as the open field, I give him an 8. Same thing. All those strong abilities. He's explosive. He can leap over guys. He's got good vision. He'll cut it back. Good power. Hard to take down. Stiff arm. But he's not going to beat you speed-wise. And he doesn't have breakaway speed like a second gear. Receiving, I give him an 8. Again, I think he has good adjustment to the ball. I think he has good ball skills and all that. But he's not... He'll line up wide and do funky things, but he's not like a prolific receiving back, when he lines out wide. It's more of a gimmick type thing where they're scheming to get him open. And then miscellaneous, I had to give him a 7. I mean, the fumbles and all that, I don't think he was an issue. I don't think he was an issue at all until this whole thing with the scandal that got him kicked off the team. So I couldn't give him a 10, all because of that. He's suspended, so we'll see what he's able to do once he gets back. But I think his skill-wise, he's really good, and so he ranked number 4. All right, top 3. This is the controversy. So number 3 for me is Ezekiel Elliott. In the box, I gave him a 9. I think he has everything, including great speed, but I don't think he has top tier speed, and so that's the only thing I would say. In the open field, I give him an 8. Same thing, explosive, strong, just not the top tier speed, but good vision and all that good stuff. Receiving, I give him a 6. He if you look at it, he's got good numbers, but it's very simplistic on what they ask him to do. He doesn't really have to beat anybody in a route or anything like that. Good hands. I don't think they're like, natural receiver hands, but really good hands. Really solid. I mean, 6, I think, is a pretty good score. And then miscellaneous 6, you had the touchdown numbers were down, but more so the fumble numbers. That was what was concerning. You had 6 fumbles, which was the highest out of anybody I even considered to be on this list. And so you got that. Good explosive plays, but, 9 total touchdowns. Then, of course, the holdout. And then, of course, the whole legal trouble. So I gave him a 6 in miscellaneous. But, of course, you look at the stats. He's the leading rusher and all that good stuff. So he's still ranked number 3 for me. Skill-wise, definitely there. Availability-wise, not so sure. All right, so number 2, Melvin Gordon. For me, in the box, all across the board, he had an 8. So in the box, again, I think he's got all the stuff that everybody has, minus the top speed. But even then, he could have been 9s across the board. Because even in the open field, he's had some explosive plays where he ran away from people. And so that second gear, that hard-nosed running, that vision, that looseness, that agility to cut back and do all those different things. Receiving, they asked him to do a little bit. I don't know if he's as natural a receiver as some of these other guys, but he goes out and he definitely tries, and they put him in situations to try it. So I'm okay with that. Miscellaneous holdout hasn't been really healthy over his career. So obviously there's those issues, but I think he's a good teammate. I think he's worked hard. He's lived up to his status, but man, he runs so hard in the box, and like his acceleration is crazy, but he also has really good, command of, his lateral, movement. So, Melvin Gordon's up there for me. And then number one, hands down, Saquon Barkley. In the box, I give him an 8. His vision, and that's the same thing I said coming out of college. He bounces around a lot because he doesn't go down easy. And so for him, he can afford that extra time to play around to find a hole or create something. And I don't think the O-line was absolutely terrible. That's why he didn't have a hole. I think he just needs to get his vision a little bit better. And so that's kind of why I felt him coming out of college. Open field's a 10. I mean, yeah. In the open field, I think his vision is actually better. But also the explosion, he ran away from people. Here's the thing. And so just to give you a glimpse. So like I was saying, kind of with the numbers, 20 runs of 20 plus yards or more. Saquon has 16. The next closest was a tie at 11. He had 5 more than any of these other elite backs. Then you have 40 plus yards of 40 plus or more. And when you look at it, the highest outside of Saquon was 4. Saquon has 7. 7 runs of 40 yards or more. No fumbles. Almost 1,000 yards in receiving. Over 2,000 all-purpose yards. It don't get no better than this. So, open field, I gave him a 10. Miscellaneous, I gave him a 10. And receiving, honestly, he'll be up there, but they didn't ask him to do. He had a lot of screens, a lot of check downs, a lot of manufactured stuff. But honestly, I think if you ask him to go out there and do some, and I don't know that he could be the corner, but if you ask him to line out and do some stuff, I think he could. But man, hands down, just Saquon is the number one back in the league going in 2019. So anyway, that's it for me. Go to the comment section. Let me know your list, your thoughts on my list, all that fun stuff. Share it around. Get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you for listening.